Okay, well, good Wednesday morning, Jet fans. It is 11:17 a.m. It is December 18th, 2019, and we are about 2 days away from the start of Week 16 in the NFL, the last 2 weeks of the regular season. And there are some divisions up for grabs. There are some wild card areas up for grabs. What we're going to do is either late Friday or early on Thursday do our preview for the weekend as well as the preview of the Jets and Steelers coming up. But we're going to go around the league a little bit today, as I like to call this Jet bonus video or Jet bonus coverage, NFL coverage as well. Yesterday, Pro Bowl votes came in, and Jamal Adams is the only NFL player in the two New York area teams. Now, I know I'm going to get back. Well, the Bills are a New York team. I don't know who from the Bills made it, but I'm going to say the two teams that play in MetLife Stadium. Jamal Adams is the only player to make the Pro Bowl. He had the highest votes for anybody in his position. And if you go back 2 years ago, I believe it was December 17th, 2017, excuse me, he missed a Pro Bowl and he tweeted out, "I'll never miss a Pro Bowl again." And since that tweet, he has been selected to two Pro Bowls. Remember last year he was there. I believe he won MVP. He also sacked the Patriot mascot during one of the festivities prior to the game during the weekend. And there was a whole lawsuit thing that was going on. But so congratulations to Jamal Prez, as he's known to on Twitter and I believe on Instagram. Um, I see this being used as leverage. I see this being used as fuel to get a higher, more lucrative contract. I don't know if anything is done this year, but next year I believe is his year. Um, I mean, the Jets and Jamal have a choice this year. And more the Jets and Jamal. Do they go into next year with him and hope that he's a superstar he could be, and then pay him out, or do they go into the season next year and he's a superstar they thought he would be, but the team is still not there and it doesn't make it cost effective to pay him his big lucrative contract? Can they trade him prior to the draft for multiple picks? I mean, there's so many um, things going around this. You know, if you keep him and he is the only one that's working out on the team on the defense, is it really worth keeping him? If you get rid of him and you bring in picks, are the picks gonna flourish? Are they gonna be productive? The Jets with their second round picks and higher have not been very lucrative as far as productivity on the field. So that's something to look at. Jamal is 24 years old. He was drafted 2017, sixth overall. He right now has one INT this year. Was brought in for a touchdown. He has 52 solo tackles. He has 6.5 sacks. Um, he had that big strip and takeaway from um, Daniel Jones back when the Jets beat the Giants over at MetLife. So Jamal, even being hurt, even being on a team with this record that they have, has stood out on defense. Um, and in a few ways stood out positively, in a few ways stood out a little negatively with that whole draft day um, blunder where they were looking to get rid of him and they were trying to trade him with all that. So we have to see how this works out. The relationship between him and Adam Gase, him and Joe Douglas. One thing is I know for sure Joe Douglas will be back next year. I don't know about Adam Gase. Um, so we'll segue into that as the people who brought you to fire Idzik um, billboards and towels back, I believe it was 2014 season, are going to be back at it this week. They already flew a plane a couple of weeks back. I believe it was after the loss to the Miami game in Miami or the Jacksonville game. I'm not sure when they started it. Then they kind of took away from the plane a little bit. They quieted down a little bit. They are big time on Twitter, getting their point across. And now I think this week you'll see up around the stadium area, up around the Florham Park area, the Fire Adam Gase hashtag billboard. I've gone over this in the past. I'm not going to really give my opinion on if you want to do this or you don't want to do this. if you're a fan and you have the funds to do this, more power to you. I don't know. And then I love my team. I love my team. I don't know if I would go to that extent to get the coach fired because to me, if you have to get the coach fired and you have to put up signs to do it, then your owner or the people making the hiring, if they need these signs to tell them, then they don't know their job. I want to believe that the Johnsons and Joe Douglas and the front office of this Jet team knows their job and they could see, the proof is in the pudding and at 5-8, possibly a 5-9, possibly a 5-11 season, or the very best a 7-9 season. Do you give Adam Gase another chance? And I'm on the fence with this. I'm not an Adam Gase fan. I think a lot of his in-game decisions are very mind-boggling. But also look at what he had to deal with this year. You lost your starting quarterback. I'm just reading now. Jamal Adams, Quinnen Williams will be limited in practice today. That's good. Both of them didn't practice last week, so hopefully we'll get to see Jamal this week. And who knows? It could be his last home game as a Jet. I hope not, but that is a possibility. So getting back, he lost, his quarterback for over a month. He lost linemen, centers, Avery Williams, C.J. Mosley for just about the whole season except for one game, game one, and then part of that Monday night game against the Patriots. So if he could pull out 7-9 with this, I gotta lean towards he comes back, and not because he did this tremendous job, but he did enough to get to 7-9. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't see the Jets changing coaches again like this. The last time the Jets went one and done with a coach was Al Groh, and he actually resigned. I believe it was New Year's Eve he resigned. Um, and he went back to college and he went to Virginia State or whatever, or University of Virginia. Prior to that, it was, of course, Belichick resigning before he even coached his second time with the Jets. And prior to that was or Leon Hess, I should say, fired um, Pete Carroll. When Pete Carroll said, when Leon Hess said he was tired of losing and he wanted a winner now, and he brought in, um, I'm getting a ton of pops here, and brought in Rich Kotite. Also, we don't know what's going to go on with Le'Veon Bell. Are we going to have him back next season? He has not played a good season. He hasn't played a terrible season, but very subpar. I think there's a lot of things that went into this. Number one, I think him being out of the league for a year and not being up to game speed was one thing. He could be physically fit. He could be conditioned correctly, but getting hit, running routes, um, timing with your offensive line, all that comes into play. The offensive line, I don't think, is built around his skill. Whereas somebody like Bilal Powell hits the hole and just goes. Le'Veon is a little bit of a dancer in the back, and not to take away from what he does, but we're not built right now for that. Um, do you build your offensive line around Le'Veon Bell and Sam Donald, or do you move on from Le'Veon Bell? I think if Adam Gase is here, we don't see Le'Veon that much more. Maybe one more year. Maybe he doesn't come back at all. Maybe we get draft picks for him. Um, Sam is the future on this offense. I believe that. He makes these tremendous throws. He does have mistakes he has to clean up. I think a lot of it is the situation he's put in. A lot of it is also, the other side of it is also he's learning. Um, so Sam, the sky's the limit. Um, so we have the Jets playing the Steelers, and I'm going to do the preview on either tomorrow or late Friday. But when I think of Jets Steelers, uh, since I've been watching them, they've played each other every few years. Um, but there was a game back in '03. It was a late December game, and a snowstorm hit the tri-state area. And I want to say few inches fell. I don't think it exceeded 5 or 6. I don't think it was lower than 2. and it made for a beautiful, majestic-looking field. It was a home game for the Jets over at the Meadowlands or Giant Stadium. I like to call it the Meadowlands. And Curtis Martin just ran over the um, the Steelers. Now this was pre Big Ben Roethlisberger. Tommy Maddox was the quarterback. Um, Chad Pennington was the quarterback for the Jets. I mean, I can still see pictures online if you look it up on Jets Steelers 2003 of Curtis Martin just running free with the snow falling and just the lines, shoveled out. Curtis went for trying to see my stats here. Uh, 30 carries, 174 yards. So he was just under 6 yards a carry, 174 yards on the ground in the snow. I mean, it was just, he came up short on touchdowns, I believe, twice. And Doug Bryan hit two field goals that day. That was 6-0. That was the difference. And I say, ironically, Doug Bryan hit two field goals because the next game we're going to talk to took place a little more than 2 years later. It was on January 15th, 2005, um, and it was in the divisional round of the playoffs. The Jets had just beaten the San Diego Chargers and Drew Brees the week before in overtime under Herm Edwards, and they were going back to Heinz Field. Big Ben Roethlisberger was now a rookie, and he was making rookie mistakes. Herm Edwards was the coach, and this was the second time they were facing the Steelers. They had faced him earlier in December and came up just short on a game that went back and forth. And I really thought the Jets had a chance in this game. And when I think of this game, I had about 45, 50 people in my house. It was my grandfather's 85th birthday. We had a surprise party for him. So I had nieces, great nieces that he had, and second and third cousins over. My friends were over. My daughter Victoria was about 8 months old. No, 5 months old, and they're all touching her for luck. And I have my Jet shirt on, and who came with a Jet jersey, and my grandfather upstairs. It's catered, and the Jets start off, they're down 10-0 quick, and then things start to turn around. They get it to 10-3, and then Santana Moss returns a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown. And I can remember I was upstairs with my daughter watching the game because she was being a little finicky, and I was changing her at my wife, and Moss scores a touchdown, and the whole place just erupts. And I go downstairs with her, and we go to halftime, and it's 10-10. And then Big Ben throws a pick, 86-yard return for a touchdown by, I think his name was Reggie Tongue. Roger Tongue or Reggie Tongue. 86-yard touchdown. Jets are up. Get to the fourth quarter, the Jets give up a touchdown, and they have to go to overtime. And it's, you first of all, the winner of this game is going to eventually play the Patriots the next week in the AFC Championship game. And Doug Bryan is on the sideline. Now remember, Doug Bryan had hit a field goal earlier in the game. He's hit 2 extra points. And he was the guy who kicked in the snow in Giant Stadium or Meadowlands a few years back. They make it a 6-0 win. They're moving the ball. They're running the ball. Lamont Jordan, Curtis Martin moving the ball. I think Lamont had about 30 yards on the ground. Martin had 74. The Jet offense did not put up any points except for a field goal. The two other scores were interception and the punt return. And they get to like a 44-yard field goal going into the open end zone where they said is the worst place to hit the field goal. And Herm Edwards goes conservative and sets up the run to set up the hash mark. And Doug Bryan goes out there and he kicks a field goal. And it looks like he has it. And it falls short. So all right. Jets get the ball in overtime again. Again, they go downfield. I swear to this day, Pennington's arm was giving him a lot of problems. It was windy, but he had come off that rotator cuff injury. He had a big throw against the Chargers the week before, but he wasn't really making these big throws. I think he had a 30-yard completion. The whole game was as long. They set Bryant up again, same end zones, just a little bit different distance, maybe a yard or two difference, further in or further out, and he hooks it, not even close. And then the Steelers wound up winning the game on an overtime and field goal. It was just a drawn out, hard to swallow pill. Um, it was rough. It really was. Um, and I do believe that the Patriots went on to beat the Eagles that year in the Super Bowl. Um, and then, of course, after that, things just went downhill. Um, the Jets next year, they take Mike Nugent with their first pick of the draft. It's the first pick of the second round because they didn't have a first round pick. And Mike Nugent, who says he has ice water in his veins and he would have made those kicks, eventually is cut by the Jets after a year or so. He actually misses his first field goal attempt against Kansas City in '05. Well, he slips. And the whole '05 season is horrible. So you fast forward 6 years, and you got Jets at Steelers, AFC Championship game. The Jets have already beaten Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts on a last-minute field goal. The Jets already have been to um, Gillette Stadium and beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick the week before, 28-21. And I honestly, the game against the Patriots, each as the days went on to it, I really felt good about it. And the day before, I was at a pep rally in MetLife Stadium, and they had ESPN was there, Feynman was there, Mark Gastineau was there. Fans were allowed to on the field. It was just a great day, and I remember sitting down with Brandon Tierney and Jody McDonald after they were done with their broadcast, and we were talking. And BT is a guy from Brooklyn. He went to Xavier High School and um, part of the sports scene in Brooklyn. And Jody Mack used to do, I believe, the afternoon drive before Francesa. And I asked Jody, we're walking to the car, and I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "I think they can pull this game off." Rex had them ready for that New England game, and they went in and they won. From that point on, I did not think that we were going to lose. I did not think at all that we were going to lose. The whole week, I knew we were playing the Steelers. Um, I said this, I think in my last video. Um, it was the following Sunday, the championship weekend. Um, I think it was Packers Vikings, and it was the Vikings with Brett Favre, a team that the Jets beat already during the season on a Monday night game at MetLife. There was also the Packers where the Jets had lost, I think 9-0 or 6-0 to Aaron Rodgers on two controversial drops by Jericho Cotchery. And I remember I went to my niece's first birthday party. We were talking about Mark Sanchez and how he's following this fan who's sick, and everything with the thing with Dennis Bird the week before, and just talking about what would it be like? What would it be like? And I remember saying goodbye to my father, giving him a kiss on the cheek, and I said, Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl. I can't wait. I can't wait. Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl. And he said, I can't wait. And I drove back to New Jersey from Staten Island to my parents' house. And my father, my best friend was here. George was here. And we were in the big room. My mother and my grandfather in the other room. We kind of did the same thing we've been doing throughout the playoffs. I wore the same shirt. I sat basically in the same place. I was in and out of the room, but whatever. And for the first half, it was downhill. It was 24-3 at the half. Um, and what made me think the Jets had a chance in this game was they also beat the Steelers earlier that December in a snow game, um, where Brad Smith had a punt return or kickoff return for a touchdown. Sanchez was making things happen, and Sanchez actually scored on a bootleg where they were inside the 2 yard line, and he faked the handoff, and everybody went to Tomlinson, and he just rolled out to his left and scored easily. And I'll go with irony again because the Jets had a first and goal inside the 4, and on 4 plays could not get in the end zone. And one of the issues was the headset with Sanchez and Marty and with um, with Schottenheimer, um, Brian Schottenheimer. He couldn't hear the play call, and at that point, I'm like, call a timeout, regroup or something. And I always said, why didn't they run that bootleg? But they wound up losing um, 24-19. They came back. Kotri had a touchdown. Santonio Holmes had a touchdown. Um, they had a safety against Big Ben by Jason Taylor. And I still say to this day, if the Jets get the ball back, they win that game. But if what ifs, it didn't happen. So those are the 3 Steeler games I remember. One of them is a win, and it was a win in a year that the Jets, I think, won 6 games all season. Um, the other 2 were playoff losses. I don't think the Jets would have beaten the Patriots the following week in that '05 playoff, but that Super Bowl would have been great against the Packers. Um, Aaron Rodgers went out and beat the Steelers the following week, but and I can still remember sitting down at my parents' house watching the beginning of the Super Bowl when they announced AFC champions Pittsburgh Steelers, and that just hurt. The whole week it just hurt. So that's our Wednesday coverage today. Remember, check us out, www.nyjetstories.com, www.nyjetstories.com. We're on Facebook. NY Jet Stories is our Facebook page. Twitter, at NY Jet Stories, and that's our Twitter handle. And of course, on this YouTube channel, Alex Bozziali, NY Jet Stories, we do 2 or 3 videos a week. We try to do at least 2. We try to hit that third one. It's usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This week it was Monday, Wednesday. We have some things going on Friday, so maybe a Thursday video or a late Friday video, possibly even an early Saturday video. There are 3 games on the schedule Saturday. 2 really good games. That Buffalo New England game, I believe, was a 4:30 game, and then there's a Dallas game at night, which I believe they're playing. I think they're playing the Eagles this week. I'm not sure they're playing this week. I'll be lying, but it's going to be a great football weekend. The Jets will have the Steelers, and we'll go in depth with a preview of that game. But enjoy your midweek. It's the last weekend before the holidays kick in. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to everybody. Happy, healthy, blessed, prosperous one. Let's see, if any news comes up, if Jamal is playing Sunday, if there's any other injuries. But that'll do it for right now, and I hope to hear from you guys. Send us your comments. Send us, your opinions. Send us some advice. Send us what you're doing this weekend. Are you going to the game? All right. Talk to you later, guys.